Starfield's like an immersive sim wannabe, an open world. It's got a lot in common with Cyberpunk 2077. A lot of expectations, a lot of
Oh, now
is
that
it
we
going to
have
be
a
this? Is it going to be
privacy,
this? What's the
why don't you tell
focus?
me
What's the
exactly
world?
what it is that
What am
Robin
I
is doing
doing?
here?
Starfield is a space game with light role playing elements.
I see. Yes,
Focus is
you
kind
are
of a
quite
key word
correct.
here. There
And I
really is
wouldn't
no
mind asking
absolute
a few more
focus
questions
in
here.
this game. It's next gen, it's got RPG mechanics, it's got shooting, it's got slashing, melee combat, it's got procedural generation. It's not quite open world, it's more open hub world of sorts. It's brooding with atmosphere that's kind of like this realistic Christopher Nolan esque gumbo. It's a hodgepodge of so many different things. It doesn't do any of those things particularly deep at all. It's got a lot in common with it's definitely Skyrim in space if you're looking at the aspect of as wide as an ocean, as deep as a puddle. I would say this game gets a little bit deeper, especially in story senses. This game hit me in some ways, the story wise, that I was not expecting. I've heard a lot of the complaints, absolutely, but I knew this is a mainstream game. This is a game that a lot of people are going to pick up. People that have been hyped about Bethesda games since the dawn of time. People that don't even know what to expect whatsoever and are just looking to pick up something for their Xbox or whatever. And the story in particular went in places that I was not expecting. I got some slight, just ever so slight Morrowind vibes, especially from the religions.
If it's about the financial or food assistance programs, we are backlogged. Don't worry, we're doing everything we can. Oh, we're not. Sorry. Can I help you? Did Keeper Aquilus send you? Oh
I
boy.
would say it's in the upper echelons
This
of
is
the
not
middle
really a
tier.
concept, it seems.
Nowhere near as bad
Listen,
as
I've
Fallout
talked
4.
about this with
Oblivion hasn't
Keeper
aged that
numerous
well.
times, and there's
Morrowind is
no
still the
record of
best,
a
the best
easy
of the best,
pilgrim.
never
But
will be topped,
since you both insist,
no matter how
our
aged it
early
is.
records are mostly administrative.
Skyrim is
We don't
Skyrim,
claim
it
projects
speaks
for
for
counseling funds,
itself.
charity expenditures. But there
Fallout
is a
3
series of exchanges
really
on
depends who you
Bethesda and a
ask.
lot of it
My personal opinion,
it's
I
the
haven't played that
closest
game in
thing
a
I
very
have
long
to what
time.
Aquilus is describing.
I couldn't really get into Fallout like I could the Elder Scrolls games.
Yeah, I mean, he's always going on about trying to bring people of all
Starfield
beliefs
to
together.
me,
Really
it's kind of
wants there
funny
to be
though
some
too because
shared
Starfield has
story
more in
or
common with
religion.
Fallout 4
Look, I
than it
like
does with
peaceful,
Skyrim,
but belief
but it's
is
got
the
a mix
problem.
and match of
Okay,
like
we don't need
everything
a shared
Bethesda's ever
narrative or
done.
theology. We need to help each other in
I would definitely
practical
say it's the
terms.
upper echelons of middle, like probably right below
A man
Skyrim
walks into the
and
first
then
house of
Morrowind
enlightenment. The
at the
founding
top.
members just call him the Drifter. So they think he's a charity case at first, but no, the Drifter asks them a bunch of questions. If your philosophy is built on an individual's own morality, what about the city?
Easily the Christopher Nolan-esque
Second person, the
interstellar
city.
atmosphere.
Isn't the problem of two what you're really looking for? And the founders
The bits
respond,
of 2001: A
each
Space
individual
Odyssey, the
must
stuff that
understand how the
basically they're
second
like
person
just
lifts
writing
them
the
up.
coattails of,
All of human effort
and
is a
I
story of
love it for that
cooperation
reason.
pushing us forward. And it kind of goes on like that. He comes back
I had
every week
mentioned
for a year.
earlier
Same
in a different
conversation every
video
time.
that I think the shooting mechanics in this game are really pretty solid. They're a lot better than they were in Fallout
It's
4.
all
They're
about core principles.
leagues
There's no
better than
God
what it was
pushing
in
us to be
Fallout
good
3,
for some
New
eternal
Vegas.
reward. We have to help each other
The shooting
because we
mechanics
choose
here,
to.
there's kind of a lot
One
going
takes
on, especially you
responsibility
get
for
the
making the settled systems
different
better,
perks
then we're
involved,
just
like
leaving it to the tyrants
gymnastics
to
and
bully the rest of us.
stealth and the zero G combat or the low gravity combat or high gravity combat,
That's what you got
things
out
like
of it, huh?
that. There's
Honestly, I think
layers,
the founding members
definitely, and
made it all.
that's kind of what they
There
needed.
was a little
Not
more
just to feel
hesitation when
good,
openly atheists
because I
joined the
still
race.
don't even think Fallout
Finding they
4
were
shooting really
experimenting
felt that
right in
good.
their
This
own
actually
scripture.
feels really good.
Fortunately, that got abandoned pretty quick. After the records of the
There's a sense
Drifter
of
ended, I didn't see
wonder to
anything
this
like the
game that not a lot of other games have. And one thing I'm going to really bring up
Besides what
is
people would say about
a
it,
lot of the things I loved
sounds like
about
a
this game is
gathering
how
point
many
or a
things
center.
remind me of
Or in
other
mathematics, it would
things.
mean one, like
This scene
zero,
right here,
the
it's
first
reminded me of
input.
some of the deeper stuff in Morrowind. The hub
Always happy to
worlds
help
and some of
if
the
you'll
stuff
excuse
going
my
on
level
with
of
the space
inadequate stupidity.
opera was very Mass Effect. Obviously, the Interstellar, Christopher Nolan stuff, the 2001: A Space Odyssey stuff, the influences, the influences, the influences, the influences. And that could be a great thing or a bad thing, depending on how you look at it. Because the best things about this game are the stuff that reminds me of other things. And I don't necessarily fault the game for it or Bethesda for it. One thing I definitely have to note, this game has some of the best characters Bethesda's written in a really long time. People that rank up with any of the Daedric princes, with Sybil Stentor, with Ulfric, with any of the mainline Caius Cascades, any of the people from Morrowind. There's a lot of great characters in Oblivion. This game's got some excellent characters. This one specifically, Mania, I think she's real interesting. I've played over 300 hours of this game, and I'm still trying to figure out if there's more to this character or not. On to some super subjective stuff. I loved Neon in general. Not just because of the cyberpunk stuff, but it spoke to me a lot. I loved the club scene. One nitpick I gotta have is those god awful costumes that the dancers wear. I was expecting something a little more Mass Effect, and what they gave me was more Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines. That's totally cool, but not really one I wanted. Neon in general isn't just great because it's cyberpunk or whatever you want to call it. It's oozing with its own kind of atmosphere that I really wish this game would have way more of in more areas. We'll get into that in a bit. But Neon in particular was a real shining moment of my first playthrough with my first character. After messing around with the game a little bit, beelining the quest quite a bit, I got to go to Neon with Walter in the main quest, and I spent probably at least 5 hours there in a single night, not just doing his quest, but I I was doing Walter's quest. He's talking to his wife. He says, "Go scout out, the club." I ended up scouting out the entirety of Neon, joined a gang, betrayed the gang, and did plenty of other nefarious type things. And came back to Walter and went on with the quest. Neon is great. Neon definitely is, in my opinion, an area where it's a super focal point for Starfield, I think. This game is seriously lacking vistas. Neon is one. There's a certain NASA space facility. There are some really good ones here that are top tier, but there's very few of them. For a game that is bragged about to be bigger than anything they've ever done, it's lacking a lot of things that have been in their other games. The procedural generation here needs so much work. It's kind of embarrassing, to be completely honest, because you will be on a planet, you'll run across a point of view, a point of interest. There's a small little story, of course, environmental storytelling. Done with it, you finish it, you loot everything, then you go explore something else. And if you come across a facility, there's a high chance you're going to come across the exact same facility, the exact same notes and journals, the exact same little environmental storytelling, everything copy and absolutely pasted. And it's kind of embarrassing. There needs to be way more fashion in this game. I was mostly kind of disappointed with the fashion elements. there's a lot of apparel, and I don't dislike really too much of it, but the actual armors, spacesuits, it feels like this game could have come out like 10, 12 years ago. I was expecting a lot more, to be completely honest. The lack of the ability to be a bad guy, the lack of the ability to do anything even remotely nefarious in this game without people hounding you that you are being bad is really annoying. There's no companions except for one that I could think of, a full blown companion, not just someone you can hire, that won't get absolutely triggered at you doing even the slightest bit of like kleptomanic type things. For a game this big, there's a lot of there are so many options, especially when it comes to character building. The leveling system in particular, I think, needs, or at least needed, a lot of work. I like the idea of earning the way you earn the perks. I do like that idea, but I don't see what was wrong with the Elder Scrolls games and simply using something and you level it up by using it. I think maybe they made that decision because they're trying to get rid of a lot of the exploits. But I mean, if you talk to anyone that's played enough Morrowind, like, you know, half the fun of Morrowind is breaking that game. And there's nothing really wrong with that, I don't think. I don't get why these developers are so against people trying to really get to the bones of their game. I mean, that's a compliment, isn't it? You like a game so much, you want to figure out how it really works.
He does not hesitate. He cuts the unbeliever down, but the unbeliever returns. Jinan realizes the great serpent is testing him, and he will not be found wanting. 4 times they fight, over 120 rotations of the planet they are on. Remember these 4 battles, Jinan, the unbeliever says. Remember these 120 rotations. But Jinan knows this is blasphemy and delivers the killing blow. That is all. I have heard of no such thing. If it exists, it is a shadow that the great serpent casts to deceive the faithless. Then we are done.
Overall, it's been a ride, and I'm seriously looking forward to Starfield becoming a platform for modding and updates and whatever the journey is and whatever it ends up being. There's a lot I liked about this game, quite a bit. I'd be remiss to say it's an incredibly, incredibly flawed masterpiece. Beneath the surface lies a game with a lot of potential. A lot of potential. And I really hope we come to see the fruits of some sort of labor that Bethesda can give us. They said they want this game to last 10 years or more, just like Skyrim. And they're going to have to do a lot more with this game because it can't ride on the legacy of just Skyrim. It's got to be its own thing. And only the fans and people that already enjoyed the base game will be able to point the way forward to what we want. But yeah, Starfield. Thanks for watching.